What's up, everyone? Welcome to Ashley Talks Movies, and here's my review of I Love Boosters, which is the latest movie from filmmaker Boots Riley, who made quite the splash with 2018's Sorry to Bother You. Keke Palmer stars as Corvette, an aspiring fashion designer who is barely getting by. She and her friends, played by Naomi Ackie and Taylor Page, make money stealing clothes from high-end stores and reselling them at a discount. The group, known as the Velvet Gang, mostly targets stores owned by Christy Smith, a fashion mogul with a nasty streak, played by Demi Moore. When planning a big job, the group gets caught up in an international scheme when they meet a disgruntled worker from one of Christy's sweatshops who wants to bring the fashion designer's empire crumbling down. Before I jump into the review, if you'd like to support the channel, make sure you subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Also, join the discussion, jump into the comments, and share your thoughts about the movie.
I call it Triple F, Fashion Forward Philanthropy. I know how to spell philanthropy. Branding, though.
I actually remember when Sorry to Bother You came out, and a lot of people were talking about that movie. It starred Lakeith Stanfield, and I unfortunately never got around to watching it. I know. So I was not prepared for how weird and wacky I Love Boosters was going to be. And this movie is quite strange. It's hard to describe what this movie is. It's a lot of things. That's the best way I can describe it. It's a lot of things. There's a lot of things going on. There's so much to this movie, probably too much to this movie. I will say one of the best things about this movie, something that really worked for me, were the performances. Keke Palmer, Naomi Ackie, and Taylor Page, I think all do a really great job with their performances, especially Keke Palmer. You know, she's leading this movie. And Corvette is such an interesting character. This is someone who has big dreams, but they haven't been realized. And, you know, she's just trying to make it. She's living out of an old fried chicken restaurant. She spends her time boosting or stealing clothes with her friends. She knows that, you know, she wants something more out of life. And she's also dealing with this, you know, mounting debt that she has, and it causes a lot of anxiety for her. And you see that literally play out throughout the movie. Keke Palmer brings that signature charm and charisma to her performance. And you really feel for Corvette because you know that she's trying to do more with her life. Naomi Ackie is also really good. She's playing one of Corvette's friends, also a member of this Velvet Gang. And I really liked her contrast in terms of her character to Keke Palmer's character. They are not necessarily polar opposites, but they approach things very differently. You also have Demi Moore, who seems to be having a blast playing this sort of cutthroat fashion mogul who is just awful. But, you know, Demi Moore, I think, is relishing in this role, and she does a really great job. What really surprised me about the performances, and it's probably why I liked the performances so much, is that the performances were really grounded. And that was a big contrast to this wacky, over-the-top world in which this story takes place. So you have these characters acting like normal people would, but everything around them is exaggerated. And that's kind of what the movie is. It's big and bold and loud and wacky, and nothing is subtle. There's just so much to this movie. In terms of visuals, you have colors that are vibrant, that really pop, and there's all different kinds of colors, and they're used in very interesting ways. For example, the stores that the Velvet Gang targets are all owned by Christy, and each one of them has a specific color scheme. So one store might be just all of yellow, or another store might only be pink, or another store might only be blue. It creates a very visually striking scene, and it does something very interesting in terms of the look of this movie. The sets and the objects in this movie are over-exaggerated. You know, I mentioned earlier that Corvette has this recurring anxiety that she's dealing with, and you see that manifested in a physical object. And I liked how that specific object was created and shown on screen. The apartment where Christy lives is slanted, and all of the furniture and everything is just sort of oddly shaped. And again, everything is sort of off the wall and over exaggerated and just odd. So it really does create this world where you're not quite sure what you're going to see. You're not quite sure what to expect because it's all just kind of different, and it's a hodgepodge of so many different things. This is also a movie that's commenting on a lot of different things like capitalism and consumerism, corporate greed, class, and it's not subtle in its messaging at all. So this movie is definitely not afraid to go there in terms of how it's presenting the message, but sometimes it is a little heavy-handed with how it tackles it. And I honestly was with this movie for majority of it, even though it was weird and I was trying to figure out what exactly was happening and how I felt about it. I was with this movie up until probably the final act. And that's when I felt like things just got really messy and convoluted, and it really started to lose me. I usually don't mind weird. I usually embrace it. But I think at least with the final act of this movie, it just got too much for me. It felt like a lot of the ideas were being thrown out there just to see what would stick. And yeah, I just really felt like as the movie went on, it just got messier and messier. This movie is a satire. It is a heist movie. There's sci-fi in this movie. And there's comedy. And those all can work together, I think, in some way. But this one, it just felt very disjointed. I Love Boosters might not have completely worked for me, but there was a lot in this movie that I did like. And I will give this movie bonus points for just being original and unique instead of just very cookie cutter and very predictable. So those are my thoughts on I Love Boosters, which is out in theaters now. Have you seen the movie? Do you like it? Jump into the comments and let me know. Also, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. So that does it for me, everyone. I'll see you next time. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.